Welcome to The Actor's Choice, where the actors and actresses have a chance to talk about themselves and their careers. Join us now for the next hour as we explore the marvelous industry of acting by actors and actresses from today's exciting show business world. And now, direct from Hollywood, here's your host, Ron Brewington.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ron Brewington, and welcome to The Actor's Choice. Roll it, Tony.
Who's next? So, Dr. Davenport, sent him to the gym? Hit the punching bags? Ain't that what you prescribing? So why are you here? You feeling under pressure? You feel like a rock is on top of you? Come on now, speak the hell up. You better make it snappy. You only got 3 sessions coming. What are y'all looking at?
Ladies and gentlemen, my first guest today is a gentleman I've known for a long time. In fact, anyone who saw the movie Antwone Fisher knows this gentleman. They know that what he went through as a young man and the story of his life. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the real Antwone Fisher. How you doing, Antwone? Welcome to The Actor's Choice.
Oh, thank you.
Looking G-double-O-D today.
Yeah.
You know, I've been watching you over the past years, and so let's go ahead and tell your story. First of all, where were you born at, sir?
I was born outside of Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay.
Yes.
You had it, as we said, we only got 17 minutes, but we were talking about the fact that you had a rough life.
Well, yeah, you know, it was a difficult beginning. My mother was a foster kid herself, and she was when she was 13, her mother had passed away, and she didn't really have a lot of guidance or anyone to take care of her, so she wound up in foster care herself. And I was born when she was 17 in a penal institution in Ohio. So it was she had a tough beginning, so it cut my chances to have a tough beginning too, I thought. Yeah.
I understand that she killed your father?
No, it's actually my father had a girlfriend,
Mm-hmm.
and my mother was incarcerated at the time, and that girlfriend, who they had 2 children together, 2 daughters, and she killed him. And, it was a tough situation, but it's a long story. But she was afraid of him. I had heard that he was harassing her, and he had a good reason to want her to do what he was asking, but he was doing it the wrong way, and she was afraid of him.
Gotcha.
And so she killed him.
Okay. Let's move into higher ground. In 1997, you wrote, because you'd went in the Navy. That was one of the things,
Yes.
One of the best things that ever happened to you. I say that for many, many reasons. As you know, I'm a retiree of the United States Navy. As we say, go Navy. Go Navy.
Yes, right.
Right. Right, indeed. The Navy was it. The Navy, and we'll bring this in later, but the Navy did a lot for me. It taught me discipline. It gave me exposure. It did a lot of good things for me, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So after you came out of the Navy, 1997, you had a chance to living here in LA to do a film, an action comedy crime film called Money Talks. Director Brett Ratner starred, who's that? Charlie Sheen and Chris Tucker.
Yeah,
And you
Heather Locklear, yeah.
Huh?
And Heather Locklear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here you are in the big time, and you're doing a job as a script revisions. So obviously you like to write at that point in time in your life.
Yes, it's an interesting thing about me in writing because I'm dyslexic, and I've always had a difficult time reading, and but the opportunity to write my own story came, and so I felt that I had to try and owed it to myself to do whatever it took to write my own story. And as a result of doing that, and I was hired to do other things.
Yes.
Right away. Yeah.
Right. The name of that autobiography that you're talking about is Finding Fish, the year 2001.
Yes, I actually wrote the movie before the book because the opportunity to write the movie came first, and it took 10 years. And around about 9 years, I thought the movie wasn't going to get made. So I had already opened myself up and all of that, and I just wanted to have something happen. So I wrote the book, Finding Fish. and
It's
then that inspired the movie to get
gotcha.
going, I think. Yeah.
It's interesting how Hollywood produces movies. You see a title, you say, "Well, how'd that movie get up there?" Yeah, it's a really interesting situation that goes on here in Hollywood about making. But everything begins with one thing that's called an idea, and you had that idea when you did Finding Fish. The year was 2002. You got your first IMDb writer and producer credits for a movie called, coincidentally, Antwone Fisher.
It's a good way to
Tell us about
start.
it. Huh?
It was a great way to start. You know,
Yeah.
I was in the Navy, of course, and I got out and I went to the Federal Law Enforcement Academy in Glencoe, Georgia, became a corrections officer, a federal corrections officer. And after 3 years, I realized it didn't suit my personality. So I heard that Sony Pictures, the movie studio, was hiring security guards. So I went over there and they hired me. And, you know, I was in this environment where there were writers, actors, you know, walking around. It was like Disneyland. You know, you
Yes.
see Sidney Poitier here and Denzel's walking around. And after a while, you know, I got familiar with the environment
Yes.
and I liked it. Yeah.
Because you can become overwhelmed very quickly in Hollywood if you see what's going on. You can't fathom with, oh, what's that? What's that? Am I
Yeah.
right or wrong?
You're right. And you know what's funny? I was the only security guard at Sony Pictures that hadn't been to film school
Right.
because, you know, a lot of, you know, it has gates around it. And so if you want to have an opportunity to meet people, you have to get a job on the lot. And a lot of people get jobs as messengers or security guards or working in janitorial things.
Myself having experience of to be in Hollywood and they send us to junkets, they send us to all these events that are going on. We meet the celebrities, we do the interviews, we do what we have to do. It is sometimes fun and a lot. It's a combination of both fun and ups and downs. It's ups and downs, but we do it anyway because we love it. We love it.
Yeah.
And that film that you did, Antwone Fisher, had 22 nominations, ladies and gentlemen, and 19 wins. Not bad, sir. For a little dude from Cleveland, Ohio. Not bad.
Yeah, yeah. So of course we're all proud of that film because it's still around. You know, you
Yes.
could see it on television, and apparently it, you know, it has touched a lot of people around the world. I get letters or emails from people from around the world. You know, you know, I wasn't the only one who had a life like that. So this story, you know, touched a lot of people because, you know, they had, you know, difficulties in their young lives too. And so, you know, people appreciate that film, and it really makes me feel like it was worth going through whatever it took emotionally for me to do my part in having it being made.
Got you. Our next photo that we have is a picture of you and another gentleman by the name of Derek Luke.
Yeah,
That's you on the left and him on the right.
yeah,
How'd you
yeah.
guys get along? How did you like him playing you?
Well, you know, I actually met Derek. He worked in the candy store on the Sony Pictures lot, and I went in one day and I saw him. I said, "Hey, man, what are you doing? Shoplifting?" He said, "No, I work here." He said, "What do you do?" I said, "I'm a writer." He said, "Yeah, right." I said, "Yeah. In fact, we're casting my film about me, and Denzel is doing the casting here on the lot." He said, "Get out of here." I said, "Yeah, it's true." He said, "Can I read it?" And I let him read it. And then the next time I saw him, he said, "Hey, you think I could audition for that?" And I said, "Well, you know, I have to ask the producer, Todd Black." So I told Todd, I said, "This kid down in the candy store wants to audition." He said, "I know who you're talking about, but we have to ask Denzel." And Denzel said, "Well, he's interviewed everybody else in Hollywood. Why not send him over?" And Denzel told me that when he was there, he was emotionally available. Out of all the people who auditioned, they couldn't get emotional enough. And, you know, Antwone Fisher was an emotional film, and Derek was able to cry. You know, not just one tear, but a legitimate cry. And so Denzel said, "I can help him with the rest."
Speaking of Denzel, of course, a renowned actor. This was, I understand, according to IMDb, this was his first chance as a director in this movie that he did.
Yes.
He played the
So I'm
role.
real honored, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. Um, the other thing was we happen to have a small video that we'd like to show our audience. It's about you, Antwone Fisher, revealing what the Navy taught you. Roll it, Tony.
Father, who was a preacher, and he wore a tie all the time. And I watched him tie the tie, and I thought I knew how to tie it, but I became so frustrated because I couldn't tie it, even with the company commander's instructions. Well, this is what the Navy taught us, to button your shirt, and it should align with your belt all the way to your zipper. They call it the gig line. We were, of course, required to learn.
Antwone, I did some research, and I dug that one up. I said, I'll be blessed. Look at that, brother. Folks, for those of you that don't know anything about the Navy, a gentleman by the name, because he was in, 11 years, a gentleman, they call him the MCPON. That's the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy. They presented you, Antwone, with the rank, an honorary rank of Chief Petty Officer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great honor for me. I've been getting honored a lot since that film came out. Yeah, so
yes,
that was a good one.
Yeah. Another award that you got was called the NAACP Image Award. Remember that?
Yes.
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 Yeah.
You know, I look younger in right now than I do in these photos and videos you got there.
Well, you know, you age with time. You know, it's one of them sad things that happen. I don't want to blow your mind, but it's one of the things.
That's one of them.
Yeah. As I said, I'm still above ground. So every day I thank the Lord. I said, Lord, thank you very much. Every day.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You wrote another book. You published a book of poetry called Who Will Cry for the Little Boy? 2005, you wrote that book. Interesting.
Yeah, you know, I wrote the poem "Who'll Cry for the Little Boy" when I was 16. I was just removed from a foster home and put in an orphanage, and you know, I didn't talk very much, so I had developed this habit of writing down how I felt, and I learned that from listening to soul music and expressing myself. And I thought that would be a way I found that I could express myself, but I would always destroy my writing after I finished. But that poem I remembered, and when I wrote my screenplay, I wanted to include it because it had I felt like it really represented the way I felt at the time, and so then I put it in the book, and that's another thing that turned out to be something that seemed to resonate with a lot of people around the world. That poem, and so I feel blessed to, I don't know, to have had a difficult time as a kid, but as you grow and get older, you know, you learn to forgive, and you know, the whole thing. So all these little, struggles that I had growing up seem to have more value now that I come to a place where I can put them in some kind of perspective where it makes more sense to me.
Okay. How can we get the book? Is the book still available?
Absolutely. They all are on Amazon, of course, and Barnes and Noble, and even directly from Touchstone Fireside, HarperCollins and Simon & Schuster.
Simon & Schuster, okay. We got just a few more minutes, but I want to make sure we get this one in. In 2007, you became a member of the History Makers.
Yes.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. In 2012 rather, you did your first documentary called "The Life of Mine: The Leon T. Garr Story." That was a job, I'm sure it was. How'd you like that one?
Well, it was great. Mr. Garr, he was when he passed, he was 103 years old, and I met him when he was 96. So we, he lives in the community, and he wanted something done about his life because, he did great things. And so I said, well, we have to try to put something together and go to the studio. He said, well, why can't you do it? And I said, well, I never really made a documentary myself. He said, if I bought you all the equipment that you need to make this, would you do it? And I talked to my wife, and he sent his grandson over, and we went to the Apple store to Sammy's Cameras. He bought cameras, like 2 cameras, and all the equipment, editing equipment, and I did everything myself. Except for coloring, and Sony Pictures did the Colorworks.
Okay.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Antwone, unfortunately, we're out of time, but I will ask you one quick question. As you look back on all the ups and downs that you've been through, What do you have to say, sir?
It was interesting. It's been interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the real Antwone Fisher. Thank you so much for stopping by today, my brother. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is the Actor's Choice. I'm your host, Ron Brewington. We would like to let you know, ladies and gentlemen, that we're asking our Actors Choice Squad, that's you guys, to help us get former baseball player Curt Flood into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Now, Curt passed away back in January of 1997, and he was the husband of one of our wonderful guests, renowned actress Judy Pace Flood. Now, all you got to do is contact our TAC office at 213-349-3941. That's 213-349-3941. And ladies and gentlemen, we sincerely thank each and every one of you for being a part of this magnificent award for a great baseball player. Roll it, Tony.
You need to give that up. I'm serious. There's no such greater feeling than being set free from those type of chains. I gave my life to Christ. I'm finally a good husband that my wife deserves. And my son actually has a father that he can be proud of.
Got two white males on the east corner.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've just seen the promo for a talent agency in Denham Springs, Louisiana. Now, it's interesting how we got in touch with that agency. Here I am surfing the internet, and I do that every day, and saw their name. I said to myself, self, get that agency for us. They have the same name as we do. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the founder and the owner of Actors Choice Talent Agency, Lisa Fuller. Lisa, thank you so much for being here, my friend. Welcome to the Actors Choice. Like that name in there. We say it all the time. Can you say it one time so I can hear it come out your mouth?
Actors Choice Talent Agency.
Go ahead, girl. Go ahead now. You too much. You too much. Before we get on with it, would you please tell us, where were you born at?
In Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Baton Rouge. Yes, ma'am. I've heard of that.
Yes.
They tell me it's a great place, indeed. You've had an opportunity. Now, you started what you're doing, what, some 15, 16 years ago?
Yes.
Now, a lot of people we're in the industry, we understand what talent agent is, but would you take a moment and explain to our audience what exactly is a talent agent?
So I submit actors for projects that are going on, looking for actors.
Mm-hmm.
We try to fill all the roles that they need. We submit on the principal supporting, any roles that they need in a film, we can submit on it.
Wow. Does a person, as an actor, do you have to have a talent agent?
You don't have to, but an agent pushes for you. We pitch you, we call casting and aggravate them to death to book you and tell them how wonderful you are and that you fit this part perfectly.
I'm glad you said that, because a lot of actors don't understand. They're in the center, but around them are all the people that support them, like you, like a CPA, like a publicist. All these people support you. You need them.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. It's a team effort.
Yes. You and I can sit here for hours and talk about that subject. So what made you get into the talent business?
So I got started years and years ago with my own kids. And my daughter was a cheerleader. My son was a football player. So I had access to all these kids. And I had gotten in good with some casting directors, and every time they needed kids, they would just call me. And so finally, one of them, we got really close, and we were talking every day. And he asked me, why don't you just open an agency? And I was like, well, I don't know, never thought about it. So he kind of took me under his wing, and it went from there. And I had booked my first principal role before I was even officially an agent.
Wow.
And it was on one of the Twilight series that was filming in Louisiana.
Got you. Speaking of Louisiana, what's it like starting a business in Louisiana versus being, say, in a market like Hollywood?
So starting a business there, I think, is a lot easier because it's, it's a smaller market. There's not as much competition there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's not as many agencies in Louisiana as there is, say, in California.
Got you. Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. Now you're in Denham Springs, Louisiana. How close to New Orleans is that?
About an hour.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm sure are you running back and forth all the time?
Oh yes. Oh yes, all the time.
I was going to say, you know that road back and
I
forth.
know that route well.
Yeah, very well.
Yes.
Now, my research tells me you are a full service business. Please explain, ma'am.
So I help talent from the very beginning all the way through like their career. So whenever they're first starting out, I can help them get started. I help them like with their resume. I'll help them like if they have an audition. So we handle everything like from beginning to end.
Okay.
With-
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say it's kind of like I kind of take them by the hand and help them along the way. Yeah.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
Who was your first client?
Well, of course, my kids, I guess,
Yeah.
and then they're friends of theirs, I guess. I have people that I've had for years, and sometimes people they'll take different routes in their lives, or maybe they may take a break a little while, but the majority of the time they always come back, even if they maybe go for other representation. Sometimes they still come back.
That
So
says a
I
lot for
think
you, my
that
dear. Says
I
a lot
think
for
that
you.
says a lot right there.
Indeed. Indeed. Is that client still with you? That first client?
Yes, yes. I have several that are still with me.
Right. Okay. Who are some of your current clients? One of them I see is Antonio Jackson.
Yes, he is the, I guess you could say the biggest at the moment. He is working on Sacrifice, which is a television series. He worked on the pilot when they first put it out, and he worked season 1, and season 2 starts this year.
All right.
So he'll be on season 2, probably usually starts around March or April.
Super. Well, guess what? We just happen to have a small clip. Roll it, Tony.
Good.
Attorney-client privilege means I don't have to tell you shit. Come on, Daniela, tells me everything.
My boss tells no one everything.
I have a demand. Take it or leave it. You better make this right.
You don't care about what's right. I got dreams too.
And I'm helping you get there, so work with me.
Antonio Jackson in action. Look at that. Wow. What a sight.
Awesome.
All right. Another person that's in your corral, is if you want to call it that, Heather Long, a young. Yes, lady.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then you got another lady, Ashton Lee.
Yes, Ashton Lee, she does a lot. She stays really busy. She does commercials, films, everything. She does it all.
Okay. I found another lady. Her name is Erica. She does commercial booking. I see booked it. What is commercial booking? What does that mean?
So it just means that she books commercials.
Okay.
So and she may book some print jobs too.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So Erica does a good bit too. She stays pretty busy.
Gotcha. And then there's a bunch of photos that we had at our expense, but I saw one more that I thought you'd like to see. Elvis Aaron Presley Jr. Amen.
I love him. He's awesome. And he is the son of Elvis Presley.
Really?
He is. He is not Priscilla's son, but he is the son of Elvis, and it was proven in a court of law.
Right.
So.
Things you got to prove in this world. My goodness. I just want to be an actor.
Yes.
I don't want to get into all that mess.
Exactly. I know.
Exactly. Talk about for a moment, ma'am, the changes that you've seen in this business over the last 15 years.
So, we have had some drastic changes, especially here recently.
Yes.
Before COVID, everybody was just going in person. All auditions were mostly in person. They weren't doing a whole lot of video. But now it has completely turned around. Everything is all video, and everything is all electronic now. All your headshots are electronic. Everything's electronic. All of our submissions is all electronic. So it's the digital age has changed it all. Everything is done digitally.
Okay.
And then COVID come along and changed it some more.
Yes, it did. Can or do you represent talent outside of Louisiana?
Oh, absolutely. I can submit across the whole United States, also in Canada.
Cool. That's great. Hmm.
Mhm.
What is the benefits of having representation in the Southeast region?
So there's a lot going on in the Southeast region. So
Okay.
Louisiana is very busy. Some jobs that we have going on right now, the Boogeyman, the Estate, Renfield, Heart of a Lion, Interview with a Vampire. I'm a Virgo, and Sacrifice will be coming up again soon. So, but those are some current jobs that are casting right now. So Georgia's pretty busy too. So I think the Southeast is the place to be. There's I don't think the competition is as fierce as it is in California. I think it's easier to get started in the Southeast region, especially if you don't have a whole lot of credits or have a whole lot on your resume. I think the Southeast region is a really good place to start.
Got you. Got you. Got you. I was just thinking to myself, NCIS New
Yeah,
Orleans. Yeah, that was
right. They
really
quit.
well.
They wrapped up already. But yeah, that went on for years. That filmed for several years.
That's called regular money. That's what that's all about.
Yes, exactly.
Hey,
Exactly.
right. Okay, here's my scene. Do I have to relocate to work with an agent in a different area?
No, you do not. You just have to be willing to travel if you get booked or, when necessary.
Okay. Can I have more than one agent?
Yeah, well, each agency is different. So you have to check with the agent, but with me, yes, I'm only exclusive to Louisiana. So you're free to have an agent in any other state that you want, just not another one in Louisiana.
Okay. Louisa, here's a question for you. What's a typical day like for you?
Okay, so I get up in the morning, probably around 6-ish, get ready.
Uh-huh.
And then the phone starts ringing. And then checking emails and then breakdowns all day long. Submit, submit, submit.
Wow.
Yep. And then we have callbacks and watching auditions, sending out auditions to people when they get auditions, bookings, reading contracts. It's really, really, really busy.
Wow. So they get a lot of training because again, we work with actors and actresses, and we tell them, hey, how sincerely are you into this business? Because you got to work for it.
Oh, you do.
Right.
And, actors in my contract, I
Uh-huh.
require the actors to have ongoing training because
Right.
I want them to be on their game just like I am.
Right. Now, does that mean education, say in a college or anything, or is this on the job training?
Acting classes.
Okay.
Like they can take acting classes on their own. I don't care who they take them with. They just have to stay in some type of ongoing training.
Lisa, if you were standing for me, I'd hug you. Thank you very much. Because thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes.
Here's one of my favorite questions. I love this one. As you know, there's a whole lot of EJO in the business. EJO. You familiar with EJO? You call it. I call it EJO. Most people call it ego, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
A lot of it. What do you do? How do you handle that? Do you know who I am? No, I don't know who you am.
Right. I'm so laid back and easygoing. I'm just a country girl from the country, so backwoods. So I do not have an ego at all, and like when I talk to my talent, I tell them that too, do not have an ego just because you just booked this big role. It doesn't mean that you're all high and mighty. You should still, acknowledge someone that comes by and tells you hello. You're not too good to say hello to somebody or sign a headshot or give an autograph or something like that. Don't be one of those that's stuck up and, I don't like that.
That's twice I would be
Yeah.
hugging you. Thank you. that ego gets in the way, I swear. Got a few moments here, madam? Okay. Got a few moments. Explain the written contract. What's that between you and a client? How does that work?
Okay, so my contract is for a year and it renews automatically unless the talent or myself decide to cancel. And then they just let me know, they give me a 30-day notice and let me know if they want to cancel. And I do the same for them. If I want to cancel, I just send them a written notice.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then we're agreeing to, there's just certain things in the contract, and everybody's contract is a little bit different. So you do have to read them carefully and see what all their terms are.
Read the small print, as they say.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Right.
Right. Now, here's one I like. It cracks me up. Okay, you've been around the movies, you're on the sets and all that good stuff. Is the role of a talent agent the same as depicted in a TV or movie?
No, absolutely not.
I've been waiting on that answer. What's going to happen? What's going on?
Absolutely not. So, you know, as we all know, TV is made up. So,
yes. Yes.
So they make it what they want it to look like. So, you know, in real life, you know, it's not all glitz and glamour and fancy and all that, you know. So
yes.
I'm working my butt off all the time.
Oh my goodness. Got one more question for you, my dear. You have had the business for the past 15 years or so. Are you glad you got into this business?
I love it. Yes, I'm glad I got into it. And it just kind of fell in my lap. It just happened, you know, and I love that it happened that way. And I enjoy it so much. You know, my kids are grown now. They've got kids of their own, and you know, so they don't even act anymore. My kids don't. But you know, but I stayed in it because I just love it so much.
It really shows the way that your attitude is marvelous. I am so glad that we had a chance to hook up with you, as they call it, actor's choice. We'll get you back in the future. We want to hear some more about what's going on down the way. And God bless you for what you're doing, really. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, and thank you. And yes, God bless you too. And I love that we share a name.
Amen. Oh, well, you know that you and I talked about Lisa. You and I talked about that.
Yes.
In fact, yesterday I was at the graveyard. Yesterday it was what would have been her 35th birthday. Yeah, Lisa's a very special name to me. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was talking about the actor's choice name.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But Lisa too, that's special too. So.
Yeah, very special.
But
I know a lady by the name of
absolutely.
Lisa Fuller. Do you know Lisa Fuller? Have you met her? God bless you. Ladies and gentlemen, Lisa Fuller. This is the Actor's Choice. I'm Ron Brewington. Roll the photos, Tony. My next guest, ladies and gentlemen, today founded Yard Girl Productions back in 2019. Now, her idea is to actualize evidence-based learning theory that film can activate aha moments, change mindsets, and catalyze impact in our society. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome filmmaker Diane Robinson. Hey, lady, how you doing? Looking D-double-O good today. Looking good.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's so nice to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Wouldn't have it any other way, because remember where you come from, Espada Public Relations.
That's right. That's right.
It's quite an idea you have there, madam. But we'll talk about that in just a moment. But first of all, where you have what they call Jamaican roots. Can you talk about that?
That's right. That's right. I'm a Yardie, as they call it in Jamaica, but I was born and raised in St. Elizabeth, Jamaica. And I came to the States when I was 7 years old with my mom. So I'm an immigrant kid with, I was born in Jamaica, raised in Brooklyn. And some of my people call me a Jamaican. So, you know, I have loyalties to both countries.
Yes.
And, you know, I'm very grateful for the upbringing I had in both countries.
Yes. And you picked out Brooklyn. It happens to be one of my favorite places. I was born and raised in Harlem, but I spent a lot of time in Brooklyn.
That's right. We're neighbors.
Yes, neighbor. Now, I understand you were the first family member to attend college.
Yeah, I was very lucky. I mean, it's unfortunate that you have to be lucky in many ways to get to go on track to be on track to a school like Vassar, where I was very happy to go there and very grateful for that education. But I had good old public school education in New York City and ended up at Vassar when I was 16, actually, which was a pretty young age to go to college. But I was pretty driven and, had a Jamaican mother who really believed in education.
Right. And she also believes in the great Jamaican food.
That's correct.
Correct.
That's correct. Thank God for that. I grew up with good cooking. Right.
Because when you sit down to a Jamaican food, you end up doing this.
You do. Doesn't matter what's on the plate.
It doesn't matter. So true. Now, you worked here in LA for about, in the inner city for about 5 years. Tell us about that place.
Yeah, I was actually in Los Angeles for almost a decade, but I did Teach for America a couple years out of college when I was 23. And, that organization puts young people who are looking to make a difference they place them as teachers in low income communities. So I ended up teaching first grade in Compton, California in the mid 90s. And I loved it. It was next to filmmaking, I would say teaching first grade in Compton is probably the hardest job I've ever had. But it was transformational for me because I learned a lot about America and what it's like for young people growing up in communities like Compton to get an excellent education and to stay on track to going to a school like Vassar. So it really changed my direction in life, and it really got me on track in many ways to social change.
Yes.
So for me, education is a platform for social change, and it's what in many ways led me to filmmaking. Because I really, I thought for a long time it was staying in schools, running schools, finding leadership for schools. And I think all of that matters, but I also think our culture matters.
Amen.
And that's a huge part of what led me to filmmaking.
Right. Because it's amazing about this country that we live in. You can go from north to south, east and west, and you'll find different people. You say, wait a minute, I thought this was 2022. Well, what happened to those people?
That's correct. That's correct.
Right? Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. Now, you being an advocate for education, you turned your career into a filmmaker, huh?
I did, which was, some people thought I was a little bit insane, but I made a huge career pivot actually just before COVID. While I was at Harvard getting my doctorate actually in education leadership.
Did you say Harvard, madam?
I did. I dropped the H word. But while I was there, I had a great professor. I had quite a few great professors, and I learned a lot about system change from him and what does it actually take to change systems. And, I had been focused for so long on what he would call technical changes, finding great teachers, ensuring our schools had great curriculum. But he also talked a lot about adaptive change, which is change at the sort of mindset and belief stage in our society. So what people think about students growing up in low-income communities, what do they believe about their potential, what do they believe about them when they see them walking on the street with a hoodie on, those are what you call adaptive changes in our society. And while I was at Harvard, I learned a lot about, and after, the fact that film and television can actually be a vehicle and a platform for changing people's beliefs and values about whatever the social problem we have.
These days, the power of the media is strong.
Absolutely. And, it shouldn't be shocking, especially when we look at the influence of Facebook and Instagram on young people, right? Yeah. What they're online. And that was a lot of what I was learning while I was working in education post-Harvard. I was working at Teach for All, and my job was to travel around the world and find out about the future of education. And it was fascinating because pre-COVID, they were saying the kids are online. 70% of the kids are watching videos, right? And the content they're basically ingesting is online. And, lo and behold, COVID fast forwarded everything. And, all of our kids ended up learning remotely. It's not ideal for them to learn everything online, but I felt like, this is the direction I want to go in. I want to be able to help create some of the content our young people are ingesting, basically.
Yes, indeed. Who are some other filmmakers that you admire?
Oh, there's so many. I grew up in Brooklyn, so you gotta love the Brooklynites who are filmmakers. I mean, clearly Spike Lee means so much to me. I loved all his movies growing up. I had the pleasure of getting to know Darren Aronofsky when I was actually a first-year teacher out in LA. He was in film school, and he was a Brooklynite who liked to read books like me. And he's just made amazing films that I just think are so thought-provoking and smart. And of course, Ava DuVernay. I love her because I love the fact, much like Spike, she goes between feature films and documentaries. And, she's an activist, and she speaks on issues that are important in terms of social change. So I really admire those three. But, I also love just Godfather. You know what I mean? Those are just great films.
Excellent. Excellent. Now, how many films have you done so far?
This is my first film. The Young Vote is my very first film. I've been working on it actually since 2019, and I started filming just when COVID started. So I actually learned how to make a film during a pandemic and in 2020. And we're at the end of the post-production process now. So we've made the film. It's a little over an hour long. We're shopping it now for distribution, and we're waiting to hear back from some festivals. But I'm really excited to start screening it, especially to young people.
Okay. There's a special reason why you put this film out. You call it, the name is Film, The Young Vote. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. You know, when I think it was 2016 when I heard this narrative. You know, Hillary Clinton had lost the presidential election, and there was a narrative going around that young people didn't care and they didn't show up to vote. And they did vote in lower numbers. But, you know, as I've shared with you, I've been working with young people since I did Teach for America in the mid 90s. And my job, once not only did I teach them, but once I started working with organizations like Teach for America, I was recruiting young people to go teach in some of the toughest neighborhoods in our country. And I eventually ended up doing this work internationally in low-income communities, always working with young people. And so I just did not believe this narrative that young people don't care and that they're not showing up. And I knew it was more complicated than they don't care. So really the film answers why aren't young people voting in higher numbers. And actually, I would say the ending that we had in the 2020 election sort of proves that narrative wrong, because they did turn out. And, you know, what I'm hoping this film does is that they'll continue to turn out and continue to be civically engaged in protecting our democracy right now.
Wow. Interesting. When you were wrapping this film, I understand it's the same day as the January 6th insurrection. Can you tell us about that?
That was a tough day, Ron. We were, it was our last shoot. It was January 6th, and we were filming in a park in Savannah, Georgia, because one of the young people we followed, she ended up moving to Georgia to help with the Senate runoffs. And so we chose to, you know, follow her because she had continued this passion of hers to continue to engage young people. And, you know, the Senate runoffs, they went well from my perspective because, you know, John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock won, and this young person that had been working to support their campaign was celebrating it. And, you know, we wrapped the shoot, we took some photographs, we had a meal together, and I got in my car to drive back to Florida, and the insurrection happened while I was driving. So I went through all sorts of emotions that day, from being happy to just being shocked to being mortified to what was going on in our country. So to me, it's a very symbolic day. I'll never forget clearly where I was that day.
Wow. Does that, you know, it's interesting when you put together these projects, it's all about one of my favorite words, and that's idea. Everything starts with an idea. You got any ideas for the next film?
I do. Well, you know, so I've spent, over 25 years of my life working in education, and I've been thinking about this film for a while, but I do want to make a film about the future of education and where we're heading right now. I mean, our schools, unfortunately, have become very political. And I think the people that are suffering the most are our young people. And so I've been thinking about that, and I really want to come at this in a very thoughtful way, though, and make something that I think could be a part of the solution for what our schools need to look like in order to support all our children, especially given the times that we live in, which are constantly changing.
As I did my research, I understand that you wear many hats, my dear. You're an education activist, you're a filmmaker, a writer, a Jamaican, a Brooklynite, a fighter for justice, a traveler. You do some work.
I do. I try to stay busy. And there are a few other labels in there. I mean, I'm very, honestly, just given all that's happened in our world in the past few years. I think it's honestly, I celebrate. I'm about to have my birthday tomorrow and turn 51.
What?
And I know.
I thought you were about 24 years old. I didn't know you were at 51. What's 51? I thought you're 24.
Why, thank you. I still feel 24. I really do. And I don't know if it's because I just spent 2 years of my life with, young people and being inspired by them, but I still feel like I have their heart. And, for me, I just think we're all lucky to be here. Just especially given the loss of life that we've seen in this past few years with COVID.
Yes.
I think we've got to use, every single moment that we have to, make a difference and to, just make sure people knew we were here. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Let's go back to your film from just a moment. Talk about what it's like when you're on the set doing the shooting. What's that like?
Yeah. Well, this was a really interesting experience to make a film for the first time during a global pandemic and during, some of the largest social unrest we've ever seen in our country.
Mm-hmm.
So when I started filming, actually, we were in COVID, and I live in Florida. So there were not that many states that were allowing us to travel without quarantining for a few weeks. So I did a lot of my shoots virtually initially during COVID, during 2020. And when I was able to start testing and traveling again, I would say, the shoots were sometimes, folks were a little nervous, everyone's wearing masks. But I think once you are physically with people, especially the young people that I followed, there's a difference filming people in person than there is filming them on Zoom, of course. And I would say, there was just so much like excitement about last year's election and the runoffs that I personally felt like everyone, whether it was our director of photography or whoever was doing our lighting, what I got a sense of from the crew is that everyone was really excited to be a part of this because they saw the role that young people were playing in, getting out on the streets and protesting some real injustices that were happening. And I think most people that I hired, if not everyone, wanted to be a part of this project because I think they believe in the young vote and they believe in the young people being a part of the solution to so many of the problems that we're facing right now, but clearly defending our democracy. So I'd say there was a sense of camaraderie and, when we were physically together, a lot of support for the young people and wanting to see them be successful.
Excellent. Hey, we got just a few more minutes, but talk about the funding for making a movie. How do you do that?
It's hard. I mean, like I said, this is right there next to teaching first grade. Luckily I had some experience in the education world with fundraising, so I wasn't new to it. And quite a few of our donors, who I'm so grateful to, are people that I knew from my prior life as an educator. Yes. And so we've received funding from foundations and individuals. We're really excited, to have the support of institutions like the Rockefeller Foundation, individuals like the Howell Family Foundation. And we have a great investor who, honestly, he's the biggest believer in this film. The man has never even met me and still supported this film.
All I got to say is we look forward to you and the success that you have with the Young Vote film. My fingers and toes are crossed that you'll hit some of those film festivals and get that name out there. You're doing a great job, Dr. Robinson.
Well, thank you. I'm really excited about it. And I'm excited to get the film out before the midterms because I think it'll be great to have young people watch it and hopefully get inspired to, get out there and vote and stay civically engaged.
We want to thank you so much for being here today. Thanks to, of course, Espada Public Relations. Best wishes and continued success in what you're doing.
Well, thank you for having me, Ron. It was lovely to see you.
Okay, so the feeling is mutual, as they say. I want to thank our sponsors, Harvey Brandman, Photography is an Art, Ron Irwin's Lose Life, The Way to Lose Weight, Ryan Buford's Books of the Future, Time Travel, Message in a Capsule, State Farm agent Carla Green, and veteran actor Rob Brownstein's Actor Training School and Actor Space. Much thanks to our guest today, writer, actor, producer Antwone Fisher, talent agent Lisa Fuller, and filmmaker Dr. Diane Robinson. And of course, special thanks to our ever-growing audience. Be well. We'll see you next time.